Hey guys, my name is Vera and I'm from Russia, from Moscow, and I'm gonna react now to how big is USA actually. So, I know that USA is the second country, like the biggest, but the Russia is first. And yeah, so let's see it.
This video was made possible by Wix. If you're ready to create a
Okay.
website, head over to wix.com/go/infographics to try out one of their premium plans right now. The United States is currently the world's sole superpower with military installations around the world.
Yeah,
As a
I know.
country,
Its
its
military
geography
is
spans
super
from
powerful.
subtropical forests to rolling plains, scorching deserts, and Arctic wastes. But just how big is the US really in comparison to the rest of the world? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Infographics Show. Today, we're taking a look at how big the US really is. The US is approximately 5,680,000 square miles, with terrain that varies dramatically. Only Russia at 10.6 million square miles and Canada at 6,205,000 square miles are larger than the US. Its three biggest states, Alaska at 663,000 square miles, Texas at 270,000 square miles, and California at 160,000 square miles, combined would be the 17th largest nation in the world, immediately after Sudan at 1.15 million square miles, and right before Libya at 1 million square miles. In total, the US is larger than the 107 smallest countries in the world combined. With about 327 million people, the United States is also the third most populated nation on Earth, having a total of 4.28% of the total world population. With a net yearly migration rate of
Almost
approximately
5%.
900,000 people, the US is by far the one place the rest of the world wants to live, with Germany coming in second at 350,000 migrants, and Turkey in third with 325,000 migrants. In the US, 83% of the population lives in cities, with its three most populated cities being New York City with 8.5 million people, Los Angeles with 4 million people, and Chicago with 2.7
still
million
love
people.
this
All
animation.
combined, the population of the US's three biggest cities is equal to the population of Chad with 14.5 million people. Just these three cities alone are also more populated than Cuba with 11.5 million people, Belgium with 11.3 million people, and Greece with 11.2 million people. When counting the greater metropolitan area, New York City is the 10th largest city in the world, with a total population of 18.6 million people, just behind Cairo with 18.8 million people, and just ahead of Dhaka with 17.6 million people. This would make the greater New York City area the 63rd largest country in the world, just ahead of Syria with 18 million people. The US is the world's largest economy with a gross domestic product of $20.4 trillion, or
my gosh.
23.3% of the total global economy. China is just behind the US at $14 trillion and 16.1% of the total global economy. When measured by purchasing power parity, or the price of goods and services versus individual incomes, the US comes at number 2 to China, whose GDP PPP is $25.2 trillion. This means that while the Chinese economy is about 30% smaller than the US's, Chinese individuals have on average 20% greater purchasing power in their own country. The three biggest economies within the US states are California with a GDP of $2.6 trillion, Texas with a GDP of $1.6 trillion, and New York with a GDP of $1.5 trillion.
can't
Altogether,
imagine
these
these
three states would be the
numbers
world's
so
third
much.
largest economy, just ahead of Japan with a GDP of $5 trillion. California's economy alone is as big as the United Kingdom's, Texas's is as big as Canada's, and New York's is as big as South Korea's. The United States also has the best equipped military in the world, though it's only the third largest at 1,282,000 active duty personnel. Ahead of it are India with 1.4 million active duty personnel and China with 2.1 million active duty personnel. The US spends over $610 billion on its military every year, or 3.1% of its total GDP. 35% of the world's total
right?
military expenditure, and more than the next 9 nations combined. Just behind it are China with $150 billion in expenditures and Saudi Arabia with $76 billion in expenditures. The United States also has the most military bases in the most foreign countries in the world. with approximately 800 military installations in 80 countries, possibly more military bases in more foreign lands than any nation or empire in history. The cost of maintaining these bases alone is about $156 billion, more than China spends on its entire military. On the civilian side, the US has the world's third largest police force, with 913,000 total police officers, placing it just behind India at number 1 with 1.9 million police officers, and China with 1.6 million police officers. In the realm of healthcare, the US is the most expensive nation on earth, with a health expenditure per capita of $10,350, placing it ahead of Switzerland at $7,900 and Germany at $5,550. While on average the rest of the world spends about 10.3% of its GDP on healthcare, the US spends 18% of its GDP on healthcare. The United States is a large, complex nation, big enough to host several different distinct accents within its own borders. Its people are hardworking and industrious, leading the world's economy. But despite what recent political events might indicate, they're also the most welcoming nation in the world, with 3 times the number of immigrants than nations in either the number 2 or number 3 spot in a global comparison. The US isn't the only welcoming place in the world. We've never felt more welcomed than when we signed up with Wix to build a website. Regardless of what exactly your business or hobby is, one thing's for sure, Wix has a professional solution for it.
So,
And if you're looking for
what am I thinking? Okay, why I said about militaries, it's stupid, because I said many times that I think like if government spend money to military, like you're gonna have a war, because I hate wars, and like we need to live in peace, you know. And that's why I think it's stupid if like you can spend this money to education, to medicine, to cities, you know. And yeah, and by the way, in Russia we have free education and free medicine. Yeah, of course we have like if we have private hospitals or something like this, but usually if you have like something, you can go to hospital and you don't need pay. Yeah, so yeah, and yeah, so that's my opinion. And thank you for watching. Subscribe to channel, don't forget about likes, and write in comments what do you think. Yeah, have a nice day, guys. Bye.
Roses are red, some diamonds are blue. Chivalry is dead, but you're still kinda cute.
Hey, I can't keep my mind off.